If I don't get it right the first time, then I wanna be with you. Don't know if I will live to see another try. 'Cause second chances, they don't ever seem to make their way to me. I wish I could rewind.
All right, back for another episode of the Coast Boys podcast. My name is Izzy.
I'm Gabe.
And today we're joined by Mendel, man. How are you?
I'm good, brother. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Before we even start, man, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, from the beginning, you know, we've been preaching about reaching out to resources and having people help you. And do you want to just start off by saying what you do, explaining to people that don't know you, who you are?
Absolutely. Yeah. Name is Mendel Murray. I serve as a professional academic advisor and athletics eligibility coordinator for all student athletes at Sonoma State University.
So what is it that you do?
So my day-to-day really is just advising student athletes, and it's a pleasure of mine, really making sure they're on track academically, and then, you know, not necessarily in my job description, but taking it a step further in terms of making sure that students have opportunities to postgraduate careers, whether it's going into another academic field, whether it's a master's, a doctoral program, or even just getting into their dream career, right? That's the thing that really makes me feel good and being able to help students in that way.
Yeah, man. And that's honestly something that I can attest to. And that's not, like I mentioned right now, that's something that we've been preaching since the beginning, like reach out, use your resources. And I can honestly say that you're somebody that's helped me out a lot, you know, like from just planning little meetings or, you know, you go into the team practices and telling us, look, my name is Mendel, I can help you out. This is what I do. And I'm like, you know what, man, like might as well reach out. And you've helped me with my classes. You've helped me with this internship I got going on. And I just want to say thank you because that's a huge help, man. Night and day from what I did before, you know?
No, absolutely. And I think why it means a lot more to me, I know, you know, probably the person that sat in the seat before me, you know, from what I've heard, didn't really do as much outreach and didn't really go to your team meetings and things like that. So, you know, I love to be able to bring that family dynamic, that personable approach. You know, it means a lot to me. So, you know, definitely, man, I appreciate that.
It makes it easier, too, when you're like young like us, you know? I don't feel like I'm talking to an adult. I don't feel like I'm talking to some counselor. I just feel like I'm talking to one of my friends. It makes it easier.
Yeah. And that's how I wanted to feel. You know, I literally turned 24 like a month ago. You know what I'm saying? So and I graduated college. I graduated undergrad 2 years ago. Right. And so I'm not that far removed from any of you. So it's just like, I want you to feel like you're not talking to an advisor, but you're talking to somebody who you can trust, just somebody regular, you know, and that's what I bring.
That's so weird. I'm older than you, dude.
Yeah. Are you really?
Bro, I didn't know that. 25.
Really?
Yeah. Damn, I can't look at you the same anymore, dog.
Yeah. How old did you think I was?
Dude, I thought you were like 26, 27.
Really? Yeah, a lot of people
I thought you were way older.
A lot of people think that.
It's the beard.
No, good. It is the beard. I try to, you know, my thing is I'm a big LeBron fan, probably a fanatic, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever he has his beard out, I have my beard out. If he cuts it, I cut it. The last time I had it this big, was when it was the lockout in the NBA and LeBron had the lockout beard, that huge beard.
Yeah.
And then when he cut it, when he went back to Cleveland, I cut it.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what's crazy is when I was in San Bern, that's when he just signed to the Lakers. And the season before he signed, bro, like it was like Kuzma and Lonzo and I think KCP, like just a horrible team, you know? Like they weren't that good. They weren't horrible, but they weren't that good. And the tickets, bro, they're probably like for like the Sacramento Kings games were like $14 for nosebleeds.
So cheap. They're so cheap.
The next season when he signed them, we all went back for summer training. We're like, dude, we got to catch a Lakers game. Start looking up tickets to like the worst team in the conference. Bro, like $324 for nosebleeds. I was like, God. It's not
that's how
fair.
It is. When I was with the Nets, we had like when the Lakers came into play, that's before we got KD and Kyrie. Even floor seats like were maybe about 15, 16 grand per seat. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like LeBron, and that's without Kyrie and KD. So this is like, you know, that he brings that dynamic. People just want to come to see him.
That's such an economic boost for teams, man. Like
Oh yeah.
The stuff
Oh
you don't even
yeah.
think about, like jersey sales, like tickets, like that's insane. But transitioning over, Gabe, did you have anyone like Mendel, somebody that you can reach out to, someone that would help you with stuff like when you were in Davis?
I didn't personally, like I said, like I didn't go for sports. I didn't try out for the Davis team or anything like that. So I didn't have a sports academic advisor. I mean, I had that advisor that helped me out, like switch my majors and stuff. But essentially, I assume you would be doing the same thing. Like you kind of talk to them, you kind of tell them like maybe you should be taking these classes. This is what you need to do so in order for you to graduate in the 4 years and stuff. Is that essentially what you're doing, Mandel?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, but I think my job is also a little like kind of a step further in terms of making sure when it comes to like eligibility, understanding that world of things, right, beyond just academics, which I think makes the job a little bit more challenging, because then you have to sort of tailor people's schedule towards, making sure they're eligible and not just taking any sort of course. You know what I mean? I think that's a dynamic that makes it kind of challenging sometimes.
That is a challenge when you're picking your classes and it's like, what do I need to meet my eligibility and what classes do I want to take, because sometimes the classes that I want overlap with my practice.
Right. Exactly. And that's where,
part.
Yeah, that's where it becomes kind of a pain, and then sometimes, people's practice, like you find a perfect schedule, but this one class doesn't work. And so now that throws everything off. And it just, but, comes with the territory. You get used to it.
That's kind of one of the benefits of doing everything online. You get to take every course you want,
Exactly.
Nothing's overlapping.
Exactly. But hopefully we're back on soon, man. I'm anxious to get back.
Absolutely.
Can't stand being in my house all day.
Yeah, man. What was I gonna say? Have you heard of anything like us returning anytime soon? Have you heard of anything? Updates?
I mean, just as much as you have. Yeah, I know they are they're in like a rumored phase of things coming back on campus, but I'm not too sure what that's looking like, in terms of approval, in terms of what that's going to look like. But coaches probably have a lot more idea of that than I do, because I know we did have a meeting, something like about that the other day.
Gabe, didn't you say something about you guys going back to school soon?
Well, here in Fort Bragg, but I mean, it really depends per county, because you got to look at the county levels, and depending on how many cases they get daily, then that determines whether people can return back to school or not. So I don't know what Sonoma County is looking like right now.
I wonder which is the worst county. It has to be
we're in purple right now, which is the worst category you can be in, Mendocino County. I think that's 7 or more cases a day that you get to be in purple. But
that's insane.
I was gonna ask you, Mendel, is how'd you get into or academic advising? Like, what brought you there?
Well, honestly, I'll be honest, I never wanted to do this in my life. Well, not that I didn't want to, but it's not where I saw myself. Like when I graduated a couple of years ago, my sole purpose was to be a general manager for an NBA team, right? And that was my goal. When I was in college, I was a manager for the basketball team for 4 years. I ran cross country for 2 years. And I did so much in the athletic department, video editing and stuff like that. And my junior year, I got a scholarship from the alumni committee from my school. And I got a chance, and it just so happened that an alumni from my school was there accepting an award on the same night, in the same program. His name is Bill Manning. Bill Manning is the president for the Toronto Football Club. And so he asked me, hey, do you know who Messiah Jury is? I said, no, I don't. And he said, do your research on Messiah Jury and give me a call when you do. So I looked up Messiah Jury that next second. Messiah Jury is the president for the Toronto Raptors. So I gave him a call. I said, hey, I did my research, whatever. And, he paid for me maybe a couple months later, or that same summer, he paid for a flight for me to go to Toronto to meet with Masai and his staff in Toronto and with the Raptors, and then with the Toronto FC. And then the next month after that, the best advice somebody ever gave me was to come back to Toronto as soon as you can to keep these connections alive. So that next month, I made the trip down to Toronto to vacation, but that was really just a way for me to keep these connections going. I had a meeting with the assistant general manager of Toronto Football Club at Yankee Stadium the night before, flew up to Toronto, and got to be at BMO Field in Toronto to see the Toronto FC play. And then I really just kept these connections alive. From those connections, I was able to meet with somebody from the Raptors organization that put me in contact with somebody at the NBA League office. And then, I just started meeting people from different teams, from the Knicks, from the Suns, the Cavs, a whole bunch of different teams. And then it just, from that connection from the NBA, I got to meet Mark Tatum and Adam Silver. And then it spiraled into just a job that, a career fair that happened at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. I'm from New York, born and raised. So it wasn't too far from my house. So I took the trip down to the career fair, went there, and the week after I was invited back to the Barclays Center for a sales academy and got the job right on the spot. Right. So before I even graduated from college, it was my senior year, I had a job with the Nets right after college. And so, there was that. It was a really cool experience, working in sales. And then I also worked with our Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion, Maurice Stinnett, who's now with Warner Media right now. And we really just tied celebrities and players to fans and gave them like a really cool experience in that way. And it was a really cool experience for me. But when I actually met the GM, Sean Marks, and, I realized that, wow, this is a really cool job, but maybe this isn't what I really want to do with my life. And so I was in a really, really long holding pattern where I was like, man, I don't know what I want to do. I know I want to work with athletes because sports is my life. I'm not leaving sports, but what else is there to do? And so I knew that getting in the front office of an NBA team was pretty difficult, especially at the time. And so one of my mentors from University of Bridgeport, really just pushed me into doing academic advising. And so from there, I just said, hey, all right, let me try to tie in. I love sports. I love helping students because I did it a little bit in college. And it just so happened that I saw the post for this job, and I didn't even expect to get it because every single job before that, turned me down. But this is the one that stuck. So, I definitely have appreciated the journey more than anything. And I think that, it's a long-winded way to say that, I just appreciate the fact of the experience and the experience that I'm able to bring to these students is not just from an academic standpoint, right? I was in the corporate America, what one would call it. So I can give them that experience and that mindset and that perspective. So, it's just, again, not something I ever thought I'd see myself doing, but, I appreciate it every day.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy how that works, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect life is all about. Just take a different turn.
Exactly. But you know what? It's really all about, like I was telling you the other day, everything is about who you know and who knows you, your connection base, and just what you feel like you're passionate about, right? So like a lot of students I know now, they want to go right back to do their master's, right? And I always tell people, unless you know that that's exactly what you want to do, take that time off, relax, figure it out. Because, I always tell people, like, if I could have went back, I would have done a master's in education instead of in business, but I was so hasty in getting into it, because you realize when you graduate, man, you're going to love so much other things. And then, you might think the thing that you love, you're like, wow, this is disappointing because this is not really what I love. And then you end up wasting your time and your money on an education where you could, that you don't even want. Right. And so I always say, take the time and really figure out what you want to do. And, education will always be there. So once you figure out what you love, then you can push forward for that. That's what I always say.
Yeah, that's good advice. That Gabe's right now is trying to figure out whether he wants to go get his master's or not.
Dude, literally, that hit home for me. Literally everything you said too, because I was the same way. I graduated and I had a bunch of friends of mine that were already doing their master's program, like right after finishing their undergrad. And I almost felt like a little left out, or like, am I doing it wrong? Because I was like, I'm going to take a year or two off. I'm going to work. I'm going to see how I like it. And then maybe like I'll find a passion of mine that I really want to do, and I'll go master in that. And so I took that time off, and I saw my friends, and some of them have already graduated now from the master's program. And I can't help but feel like, am I doing it wrong? But honestly, I don't think so at all, because I've been teaching for the last 2 years now, and I'm figuring out if that's something I want to do long term. And then I would go back and I do my master's in education, or I do it in counseling, or something involving helping people out as well, because I'm in the same path. Like, I want to help people out long term for my career. So I mean, that hit home for me right away.
Yeah. And I definitely think that, whenever you question whether you're doing things wrong, I never think you're doing it wrong. You're just doing it your way. Right. And I think that the biggest piece of advice that I give to a lot of people, especially students, is never try to compare your chapter 10 with somebody else's chapter 12. right? You are in two completely different lanes of life. And just because you're going in the left lane doesn't mean that you should be going in the right lane because everyone's going that way, right? You have to sort of figure out what's best for you. You have to figure out, what makes the most sense, right? Because again, for me, not that having an MBA is bad, but it's like, what am I using it for in education, And so if I had taken that time and like really figured out my pathway, right, that, how much money I could have saved on that back end. And at the end of the day, you have friends that are going straight into it. They might, be in something that they're passionate about. And if they are, good for them. But they might also get into a holding pattern like I did, where they're like, man, this is awful. Like, I really don't want to do this right now. And so, I don't care. At the end of the day, you really got to think about it, no matter how much you're getting paid. And to me, I don't really care about money. Money will always be there. There's a lot of money in this world. But if you're doing something you love, that is where it really means a lot, right? Because if I was doing this job and getting paid nothing, I would have been happy. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you can find a job like that, or find a degree like that, where you get that butterfly feeling inside, where you don't even care if you get paid for it, it's not even a job to you anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what you want, and the more you take time to figure that out, the better, man. You can always go back to school. School will always be there.
100%.
That's great advice. What was it that when you met the GM that turned you off about that career path? What did you realize at that moment?
Well, I realized that, you don't really have a lot of interaction with players, right? When I was in college and I was working with the basketball team, it was, I had so much interaction with players. I had, it was like a brotherhood. You're in the group chat with the players. And, that's, for me, I love basketball. I played basketball in high school. When I got to college, I realized, hey, I'm not going to compete on this level because they really, really kicked me down when I played pickup with them. But, so I stayed on the sideline, but I still wanted that brotherhood mentality of playing and being around these guys. And when you're a GM, yeah, you know them and you have a relationship, but you also have to understand that it's business, right? You are the CEO of that team, and it's business. If a person has to be traded, I don't care how good of a guy they are, you have to let them go, right? And for me, if I was to go back into any realm of the NBA, it would be for, working in player development, because I really, and working with off the court activities with players, because I really not only love players, being able to see success in their life off the floor, but, I really enjoy just that brotherhood of being around athletes and being around players, right? That really, really drives me to be better, and being around people who work so hard, like, and to me, that's why I wanted to be in sports in the first place. It's like, like LeBron, again, my favorite player, you would think he's like the greatest player that he could possibly be right now, but yet he still works 20 times harder than he is. Like, even Kobe, that Mamba mentality, like Kobe is probably one of the greatest players who ever played the game of basketball, but like his work ethic never stopped. Like, he kept going and kept going, and you think that he's at the peak of his career, but he kept working hard to improve himself. And I love that about athletes, is just that resiliency, right? And so, if being a GM took away from that, that's not the field that I wanted to be in. I really wanted to be, as much with athletes as I possibly could be.
How long after you had that realization did you land this job? Like, what was that period like?
Well, honestly, maybe I would say maybe about halfway through my time working at the Nets, I had that realization. It was a moment where we had just signed Kenneth Faried at the time, and I was at my desk, and the CEO walked down with Kenneth Faried, and we got to meet Kenneth Faried. He was walking through the tunnel and everything in our office, and then I looked down at my computer, and I'm like, wow. Like, because the Nets, we practice, the business floors on the 7th floor, the Nets practice on the 8th floor, and right above us, they're practicing. And so it was like, wow, like, I really don't want to be here. Like, like where I actually want to be is upstairs. Like, and I'm missing out everything that I worked hard for, and or at least I thought at the time, right? Because again, it's all a journey, right? And I couldn't expect within halfway through my time there that I was going to be everywhere that I wanted to be. That's pretty unrealistic for me to have thought that as being younger as I was. And so, I started looking for this job when I left the Nets around May of last year, I believe. And I looked for this. I just started looking for any random job, and I started interviewing for this job maybe around September or October of last year. So it wasn't really that long in between it, but I would say maybe about a few months after.
Yeah. And how long were you at the Nets for altogether?
I was at the Nets for maybe a year and a half. I say it's almost 2 years, but it's about a year and a half.
Dang.
Nice.
I have a friend that I graduated with, or not I graduated with, that he graduated when I was a freshman at Sonoma State. And he was
Mm-hmm.
working, kind of doing similar stuff like that, like for the San Jose Earthquakes. And I was
Mm-hmm.
working for the Red Bulls. But
Mm-hmm.
it seems fun. It seems like he likes it a lot, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, working in sports, I think it is fun at times. At least it was for me. I think it depends on what you find fun, right? Because for me, again, like I said, I wanted to have that interaction with the players and, with the fans, yes, but with the players and like I did in college. And I was in a sales rep at the time, and being a sales rep, it's all about business for you, right? It's all about new clients, new business, and selling old business, upselling old business, right? Even at games, right? It was always like, the Raptors came into play. Kawhi Leonard is playing. That's really dope. But at the end of the day, I just worked from 7:30 to now the game ends at maybe 10 o'clock at night or at 9 o'clock. I'm trying to go home. I'm not staying here for the rest of this game because, and you barely get to even watch the game sometimes as a sales rep because like I said, you're always on the move. You're always going. And, so for me, it sucked just because it took away from the love of the game for me. Because it was like when I could watch it and I could watch Kawhi Leonard up close and I could watch Russell Westbrook or James Harden, it was like, I had to sell and I had to be engaging, and so it took away from the game, from the love for me. And so that's why I don't really mind leaving it. And, if I ever, like I said, was to go back, it would be to work in player development where I can get not only interaction with the players, but really get back into the love of the game of basketball for me, and really be able to enjoy it because I couldn't really enjoy it before.
It's very interesting how something like that experience can kind of like tarnish it, When you're stuck doing something like that, it's like, I'd rather just sit here and watch the game. Like, I'm not trying to work right now, What were the hours like?
I mean, that's how it is. Well, so we had to be it was really 8 to 5. We had to be 8:30 to 5:30. We had to be in the office. Me, I'm an early bird. So I used to get, and I had a 2-hour commute to work. So I used to wake up every day, maybe around 4:30. I'm real early bird, and I used to get to work around 6:30 every day. And just, crank it out, start working, and do what I got to do. But, when it's game night, you have the game sometimes it may start at 7:30. Sometimes on a Sunday game may start at 6. That's maybe a 2-hour game. So you have to be there for the duration of that. And again, a 2-hour commute back home. And then when you have some games are back to back, 3-night games, it's like, that's hard. That's very taxing because, we're playing the Knicks tonight. We're playing, whoever tomorrow night. You got to be there for all of those stretch of games. And it can be very tiring, especially if you're taking a train home every single day. But no, I mean, I wasn't going to drive to work because that's a pain in the behind getting to Brooklyn from where I lived every day. And it's very expensive to do that as well. So, so I'm glad I don't have to do that no more.
Yeah. And at your time there, did you ever meet anybody famous? Did you ever meet any big
I
people?
met a lot of people. I've met LL Cool J was the first person I met. That was I met Walt Frazier actually coming off an elevator. I'm Walt Frazier. I got to meet pretty much the entire Nets team. It was actually really cool. When I got to, like, we had a holiday party. I got to walk around Shabazz Napier the whole time. One time it was my last day at the Nets, and I was I had a D'Angelo Russell shirt on, and I was walking back into the office from lunch on my last day, and I saw him and Karis LeVert walking outside of the building. And I was like, "Oh, yo, what's up? I have your shirt on, whatever." And so Karis LeVert, actually, I have a picture of D'Angelo Russell taken by Karis LeVert, which was cool. I got to meet Al Sharpton, was cool. Angela Yee, DJ Envy, I got to meet, which was really cool. Jeff Johnson, who is really huge right now he's been big, but I forgot what the name of his company is. The Reform, I believe it is. He with Meek Mill and Jay-Z. And so him and a lot of different people. Those are the ones I can remember off the top of my head. But I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I actually got to see Kobe like really close. So the last time Kobe ever went to the Barclays Center, I was actually I was there and I was with my friends and we were talking, and I turned around and I saw Gigi walk outside of a room, and I was like, oh shit, if that's Gigi, Kobe got to be right behind her. So it's Kobe. So Gigi was walking towards me. Kobe walked right behind her. And I mean, making eye contact with Kobe, like that's super dope. And it's just very unfortunate, what happened with him and Gigi, but, it was just very cool to have that experience to see those two really up close.
That's insane.
Which was cool. Yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience.
Did you say hi to him?
I didn't say hi. I was actually very intimidated because it was a lot of security, man. It was a lot of security there. So I was like, I'm not trying to chance that. But I mean, hey man, that was really cool. But I got to meet, I was fortunate to meet a lot of people over there, man. And I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome, man. I don't think I've ever met anybody famous.
Yeah, it was, I think they're just the only people in life, honestly, that can floor me if I ever met them is LeBron, Jay-Z, Barack Obama, and Steve Harvey. Those are the only people I think that can floor me. That's it. Like everyone else, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. But I got to see LeBron up close one time when I was there. He was actually walking. It was Dwayne Wade's last game. It was him, CP3, and Carmelo was there to support Dwayne Wade. And I was actually bringing some jerseys and stuff down to the family room in the bottom of the arena in the basement. And I was walking and I saw a whole crowd of people stop. And I was like, why did they stop for? Like, it's like, I have credentials. I work here. I'm about to go around. So if I would have went around, though, the reason why they were stopping was because those three were walking outside of a room from getting something to eat. And if I had walked around, I kid you not, I would have walked right in front of LeBron, and I probably would have lost my job that day. But I mean, it almost would have been worth it.
It would have been worth it.
It would have definitely been worth it. I would have definitely tried to hug him, try to do something. I don't know, but I would try to get a picture or something.
That's so funny. Dude, I remember one time when I first started watching soccer, it was after the 2010 World Cup that summer when Madrid plays in the U.S., they do the U.S. tour. And Real Madrid came to play, and I didn't know anything about soccer back then, so I was just tagging along with Steve-O and Big D, and it was at Candlestick Park. And I just remember CR7 was there. That was like the only player I knew. And just seeing him, I was seeing him from like 50 yards away, man. Like I was probably like 20 rows up behind the goal, and just seeing him, he just looked massive. And he's like 6 foot, you know what I'm saying? Like he just looked huge, and it's just like this guy that you see on TV that millions of people around the world know his name. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere he goes, he'd be recognized. And when he's walking through the tunnel at halftime and before, like after the game, there's hundreds of people that run from their seats to crowd around. And you see him, and I probably saw him, the closest was probably like 40 yards, but he just he doesn't look real. You know, it just looks like
definitely doesn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that feeling. It was weird. The two people that I met that I think were kind of a weird experience, like it took like exactly like that, like big as hell. One person, do you know Ruud van Nistelrooy? I forgot where he played, but he's a big soccer player.
Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah. I got to meet him in Toronto. That dude is his hands were like 4 of mine. I mean, huge dude. And then the second person that I met that was probably bigger than life was DeAndre Jordan he was walking outside, and I was like, wow, like, you know, looking on TV, like they're big on TV, but like in person, like these dudes are like giants. Like, you know, even Joel Embiid is that's a like, I don't think TV does it justice how big that dude is. Like he's actually unnaturally big, I think.
And when you see them on TV, they look big standing next to other 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guys.
Exactly.
They look huge, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when you see them in person, these dudes are like larger than life, man. I mean, it's like it doesn't even seem safe to be that tall, man, and that like big.
Yeah, man.
Oh, sorry, what?
I was gonna say is like I remember I went to the Levi Stadium. I watched San Francisco versus the Atlanta Falcons, and I was on the field because I was holding up the flag. Shout out Chava. I went with him, and we said hi to Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan was literally as close as I am, like to my screen right here. He was right there. We said what's up to Matt Ryan, and then like. Who else? So Julio Jones is like literally like probably 15 feet away from us. And I was about to shout out. I regret not doing it, but I was going to tell him like, bro, hey, I need 2 touchdowns tonight for fantasy. Like hook it up or something like that. And I just didn't say anything. But we like when we did the flag, we went across the other side of the field. Again, I was like 10, 15 feet away from George Kittle, Jimmy G. And it's like, it's crazy seeing how massive these dudes are. And it's weird because you see them on TV and you're like, oh, dude, like that's sick. And then you see them in person, you're like, holy crap, like these guys really are that big.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah, take those moments, man. And they might like it. A lot of them, a lot of them are really down to earth, man.
Dude, absolutely. Like, if you're gonna say something, that's the time to say it. You know?
Yeah,
seriously.
I know. I missed my chance, dude.
That's so funny. Next time you go hold the flag, you can say it to him. That must be so cool to just like be, like just like in that world, and you're constantly around like well-known people or like high-end people. That's just so mind-boggling to me. You know?
Yeah, it's just like you gotta just act like you've been there before. That's it.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. That you don't want to be there and act like a fanboy. You know, you want to act like you've done it before.
Mm-hmm. Like I get that. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's like you can still get your pictures. You know, I got my pictures of people, but it's I just don't. I'm not gonna act like oh my God, like the only person I would ever act like that to is LeBron. Everybody else, I'm gonna act like I've been there before. Be calm, be cool.
I wonder if that bothers them or not.
I feel like it does.
I feel like I don't know if to say if it does or if it just. I feel like they're used to that. But like it stands out more where people don't do that. I think.
Exactly.
That's the interesting thing too. Like,
and I was gonna.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Oh no, sorry, my mic cut off. Go for it. No.
Oh, I was gonna say that's an interesting thing too. Like I was watching an interview that CR7 did. Again, going back to CR7. That's my LeBron James. Your LeBron James is my CR7, dude. If I ever saw him, I'm running up to him. I'm gonna tackle that guy. But I remember he was doing an interview with Pierce Morgan, and it was when all the rape allegations came out. I think last year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking about like he asked him like, "What's the life of Cristiano Ronaldo like?" And he said honestly like it's pretty boring. He's like, I can't go anywhere. He's like, I can't go to the park and play with my kids. He's like, I can't go to the store and with my girl and grocery shop. He's like, I can't go out to dinner. And you don't think about that kind of stuff when you're just like living this regular life, Like I don't recognize anyone when I go to Runner Park and I'm at the store and walking around. I can do whatever I want, but it's like when you live this bigger than life person, you're this personality and everybody knows, and you're this huge athlete. Like you can't do that. You lose your privacy.
And the thing is too, is like that's why I always tell people I would never ever want to be famous. I just want to be the person that knows the famous person, because when like people like him or like a Kobe or like a Michael Jackson, when he was here, like you can't go down to no park, or Jay-Z, you can't go to no park. If you go to a park, you're getting like ambushed, or 40,000 people are going to know that you're about to go there if you want to go to the park, and it's like, you can't live a regular life, and it can be a pain. That's why I don't mind living a life where, like I said, I just know who they are and they know me. I don't want to be them. Cause I like, those simple luxuries sometimes that I think we all take advantage of, but just being able to go to the grocery store, like you said, just walk.
Yeah. Cause there's like sometimes when I get annoyed by friends or family, imagine getting annoyed by like hundreds of people,
every day, every hour.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be so that's why I can understand why famous celebrities or actors or singers like get mad at the paparazzi. It's like, dude, that's every day outside your house, guy, taking pictures of you. constantly
Yep.
bothering you. Very
Yep.
annoying.
Yep. I can feel that. That's why I always say, man, just always. That's why I just try to be respectful of all of them. Sometimes, when I was walking around with Shabazz Napier at that time, like I never even asked him for a picture because it's like everybody was so fanboyish around him, and I'm like, he's just a regular dude. He's a cool dude, and we just got to have a conversation and everything. And that was like a really cool moment with an NBA guy for me. But I didn't even ask him for a picture because I didn't want to be that guy. Like, we just had a cool conversation. Now I'm about to ask you for a picture like a fanboy. I was like, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to just let him live a regular life, be the one person that's not going to do that.
Yeah. It almost be like everything that we just talked about before wasn't real, or what? You just wanted a picture this whole time?
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's why, part of the reason I didn't want to do that, because we did have a solid conversation. We were eating like lunch or something like that. It was at Dave & Buster's in Manhattan. And we were just sitting there eating and like, chopping it up, talking, and, so that's why I just wanted to have that genuine feel, so, still didn't get that picture. I'm cool with that. I'll take cool, that. Man. Yeah.
So transitioning over to what you're doing now, what was it like going from that world, on the East Coast, completely different culture, and then coming over here? Like, what was that transition like? How do you cope with it? What do you do?
It was, when it comes to the job, it was amazing because now I'm kind of feeling more like I have purpose, right? Nobody can tell me what I do and, tell me anything about myself, because I know what I bring to the table, and I know what aspect of everything I'm able to bring to students. When it comes to lifestyle, completely different from New York. Number one, public transportation is not as accessible. You definitely need a reliable car, and people are like way too nice here. Actually, a little bit too nice. People in New York are, in my opinion, are just rude. I've lived in New York all my life, but people here, oh, I'll help you with that. Like, somebody traveled with me 3 or 4 aisles to look for some soy sauce. And it's like nobody in New York does that. Like,
what's it like in New York then? How are people in New York?
People they're just not as helpful. They're not as friendly. It's like, if for example, when I first got here, I went to a Target and I had a lady walk up to me like, hey, excuse me, I have a free line over here, sir. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, in New York, if you don't see the free open line, you don't see the open line, and that's it. Like, nobody's coming up to you like, hey, there's an open line. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just people are not as warming and welcoming in New York as they are here. Like, I love New York. That's my home, born and raised and everything. But people are a little bit rude. Like, when you're in New York, people are kind of cutthroat sometimes.
Did you experience that when you went to New York, Gabe? Something similar?
I was only in New York for like less than a day, so I didn't really get the chance to experience that. And I went to all the tourist attractions, and so there were just a bunch of people. And I figured, you're people who work in there, you're seeing tourists every single hour of the day. I wouldn't be happy either. I'd be pissed off. I'd just be like, dude, like, just find it yourself or whatever. So if I did have an experience like that, I probably was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because they're probably seeing tourists all day. So
yeah. Most of the times, most likely, if you're going to a touristy area, you're really not going to see that too much. People are going to be kind of hospitable. But if you're in Manhattan, or certain places, like I'm from the Bronx, I'm from Mount Vernon. It's like closer to the Bronx for reference, but it's not going to be as nice as they are in those touristy areas for sure.
It seems like people are just kind of like on the go there. Like, bigger crowded areas are kind of just in their own little world. They don't really care if you see a line or not. They don't really care if you can find the soy sauce. It's like, listen, guy, I'm here to to buy some chips. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody's doing their own thing.
That's it. Like, and it's not even just about, like, we just have places to go and places to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have stuff to do. So it's like, if for example, one of the things that really annoys me about people who just come to New York to visit is if you're on the train, or if you're in Times Square, you're in Manhattan, don't walk like slow, right? I hate people who walk slow, because you have to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, pull over to the side and figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Because people are on the go. Like, I don't have time to, move. And that's why people get bumped and stuff in the city. You have to move, like, go. Because New York is a fast-paced place, especially in a train station, right? If I'm on a train and I know I only have less than a minute to get to my next train, which may be down some steps and, through another tunnel, you need to make sure that you're going to get to that train. So you're going to have to either run or walk, or walk very fast. So it's a very fluid environment, fast-paced environment. You have to get to where you got to go. And if you're a tourist and you don't know where you're going, that's cool. But don't hold people up. You can always tell when somebody's not from New York just by looking at them, though. I can tell. If you like, especially if you have a "I Love New York" T-shirt on, nobody from New York wears that. Nobody from New York wears that.
That's so funny, man.
Like, nobody does that. But, like, we love New York, but we don't wear that.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the New York lifestyle, or do you prefer now being on the West Coast?
I don't know. That's a hard question because New York is home. It will always be home. But, I just, wanted to change of pace. So it's nice to have a change of pace here, especially in Sonoma County. Sonoma County is probably the most different world from New York as I'm going to get. And so it's just nice to have the change, and, I can see cows and chickens on one end if I want to, but then I can go kind of to a city on the other end if I want to as well. So I can't really say I like one or the other, but I just like to change of pace. It's just different.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, one of the main differences from just hearing you talk about it is, like, the public transportation. Like, I couldn't imagine having to take a train every day. I had to take, like, the MTA bus to Ukiah one time. That's like an hour and a half drive, and I thought that was weird. Like, getting there and waiting for the bus at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, dude, if people do this every single day to get to work, that
was my life,
crazy,
man. Listen, it's a lot, man. But the thing about it that's different is that the public transportation in New York is a lot more fluid than it is out here. And that's another thing to remember too. Like, because if you I've never taken public transportation out here, but I can assume that trains are not coming every 5 minutes or every 2-3 minutes, right? And so in New York City, you're on the subway, you're taking the train, trains are coming like every 2-3 minutes, right? And so if you're on a train, you're waiting for a train, you're going to make your train or whatever, but if you need to get somewhere on time, you're going to have to make sure, hey, I'm at this train instead of waiting 2-3 minutes for another one. Or the bus, even the bus. I don't like taking a bus because if I take in a bus, that means it was short enough that I could have driven there, right? And so I don't like that. But if you have to take the bus, it's a lot more easier and accessible to me than taking it out here. And that's another thing to remember. When I was in high school, I used to take the bus every morning. I used to leave the house at maybe like 6:30, 7 o'clock every day, and take the bus to school. But it's not as bad probably as it is out here. It's probably a lot easier.
That's another thing too, like with all those trains and the subways and stuff, there's probably so much foot traffic. Like, I don't remember the last time I walked somewhere. Like, I usually just walk from my car or from the place I'm at to my car. Like, I don't walk anywhere to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird.
Yeah. And it's not bad though. I mean, you get used to it, honestly. And especially if you're a New Yorker, you're going to learn how to walk fast because you need to. So you'll adapt that.
Okay, so if me and Gabe, we're gonna go to New York next summer, what do you recommend we do?
Well, I'm from Mount Vernon, man. So I recommend you going and I'm closer to the Bronx. So I recommend the Bronx. That's where I'm from. So if you want to go, I definitely recommend, obviously for touristy purposes, going to the city, going to Manhattan, Times Square, 42nd Street. Definitely recommend that. If you do, I will go to Brooklyn Bridge as well. That's a distance from the Bronx, but you can get to the Brooklyn Bridge. That's a cool experience to walk that. That's like our Golden Gate Bridge, that's like a cool place to walk as well. But I definitely say going to the Bronx, man. And if you go to the Bronx, I always tell people, man, you got to go to the bodega and you got to get a chopped cheese. So a chopped cheese is a New York version of a Philly cheesesteak. So it's literally like chopped up ground beef and like chopped up hamburger meat, but the way that they saute it in the bodega, awesome. You got to get a chopped cheese on a roll with everything. No, get it on a hero. Get a chopped cheese on a hero with everything on it, and then get you like an Arizona or something like that. You know.
All right, man. I'm sorry.
You got to get that, and then you got to go. You got to get like some Jamaican food or something. You got to try pizza in New York, because I tried pizza down here. You know, I know friends down here that say that. What's the name of that place? Little Caesars is, you know, good pizza, and I'm like, you're crazy.
No,
I was like, first of all,
I don't think anybody ever says that.
Yeah, okay, then maybe it's just the people I'm talking to, man. But I think we gotta. That ain't no good pizza ever, man. That's the worst pizza I ever had. I mean, it's like good if you're super exact. That's what I always say. It's cardboard box, but it's good if you're really hungry.
Yeah,
but if you're not hungry, man, if you're not hungry, man, like you gotta go. If you go to New York, though, you want to get like chain, you want to get family-owned pizzerias, right? So like the Mario's, the Tony's, the Nick's Pizza. Those pizza, amazing. If you get like the Domino's and Papa John's, those are good. If you're ordering like a bunch of pizza for like, you know, an event or something. But if you want to get some quality pizza, you go to Nick's, the Tony's, the Mario's, those type of family-owned, the mom and pop, exactly. Yeah, you want to go to those. If you're in Brooklyn, Patsy's is a good place to go to. They have some really good pasta and pizza as well. That's like real Italian style pizza in Patsy's. They're really good. But yeah, you know, if you're in the Bronx, there's a place called Mario's that I always go to since I was a kid. Great pizza there as well. So, you know, my recommendations.
Mario's and chopped cheese.
Chopped cheese, yes. You got chopped cheese. Chopped cheese should be number one on that list right there, man. You got to get a chopped cheese. There's no more New York than that, man. If you need a New York card, the chopped cheese is the number one on that list.
I'm gonna show up to chopped cheese with the I Love New York shirt on.
You got exactly.
That's so funny. Exactly. So transitioning over, more serious topic. What do you want to do now? Like, what's next for you? Do you see yourself long term doing what you're doing now? Like, what are some steps that you want to take forward? Like, where do you see yourself?
It's a good question. I mean, I do want to be, you know, at Sonoma State for a while. I really enjoy being at Sonoma State. You know, whether that's in an advising aspect, I think that's where I want to stay. Like, as long as I can help athletes out, I want to be here. Right now, I'm actually in the worst of applying to do my doctorate at Stanislaus State. So, you know, fingers crossed I get in there. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, after that, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, I think, you know, still keeping my connections within the NBA. And I think, you know, it would be great if I could get an opportunity maybe 10 years down the road to do player development with an NBA team. That would be awesome. You know, but I definitely am enjoying being in the realm of college athletics and being at Sonoma State specifically.
That's awesome, man. If you were to do your doctorate there, are you going to be there in person, or would it be online classes, or how does that work?
I feel like it's going to be online. From what they told me, it might, or by that time next summer, depending on how things go, fingers crossed it gets a little bit better. COVID wise, maybe it might be a little hybrid of both. That's what I'm hoping for. But for right now, I think everything's going to be online.
I heard some courses for some master's programs are in person. Is that true, or did I misunderstand that?
I don't even remember that. I think so. Yes. But they're doing it on a case by case basis. Like there's some schools where you can't do it online, right? Like you have like culinary stuff or, you know, some lab stuff for like nursing programs that like those need to be in person. And for a lot of master's programs as well. But for the most part, everything, if it can be remote, it's going to be remote.
Hey, after talking to Mendel, do you think you're going to go get your master's or what?
I think so, man. I mean, I was already leaning towards that way, but I really just need to look into the process of applying for a master's and like what kind of paperwork you need to get done. Because right now I'm just saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but like I don't have the steps in front of me, which is exactly kind of what Mendel would be doing, like kind of help me out. Like, all right, this is the next step, this is the next step, and this is how you do it, you know. So
right.
I'm trying to get him to go to Sonoma.
You should, man. Come up, man. I'll help you out.
Applying to.
Dude, that'd be sick, bro.
You should.
In the spring?
Yeah, that'd be sick. What are you doing your doctorate in?
I'm going to do it in educational leadership.
Okay. Dope. Yeah, because I'm thinking about doing my master's in education or counseling between the two. So you might have just convinced me a little bit more towards the education side of thing. So.
Well, listen, man, nothing makes me happier to hear that, man.
What is the difference between, like, okay, when you said earlier, I wish I would have done it in education as opposed to business, like, why? You feel like it would have been more applicable to what you're doing now?
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, business will always have a place in my heart. I love business. I love everything about business. But I do think that like doing it in education definitely would have helped me out in terms of what I'm doing now. Only reason I don't mind doing it in business is because I do feel like business business is really near and dear to my heart, and it allows me to give kind of a different perspective for students now. So when it comes to education. So but I think I'm trying to make up for it in my doctorate. So, hopefully I get in.
That's awesome, man. Well, to be honest, we talked about everything we wanted to talk about. I know you're a busy
Sounds
guy.
good.
You got a meeting right now in 10 minutes, man. We just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us. It's been very enjoyable. The insight is amazing, man. And I'm just, we're rooting for you. Hopefully you get that doctorate. That'd be sick,
Absolutely.
man.
And
I appreciate
before we go, the Lakers, do they clinch it tonight?
Absolutely.
Yes, they do. Are you kidding me?
All right, you heard it here first.
Come on, man. What kind of question is that, man? LeBron is going to clinch it. Title number 4. He has nothing left to prove anyway. Yeah. He's the greatest basketball player of all time, man. So I think so.
You think LeBron is the GOAT?
Of course. Come on, man.
I mean, I do too.
That's controversial.
First of all, hey, man, we can talk about this all day. All I'm saying is, look, LeBron James, I don't feel like anyone has had to go up against sort of the competition he has, especially with some of the teams that he's had. I think he's really, like, if you think about it, people always get at him for losing as much finals games as he had. But at the end of the day, like, you talk about, he's the only person that people don't want to have any help. When he was in Cleveland the first time, right? Like, and I'm not saying anything bad about any of those guys there, but you're going to really compare a team like that, to the San Antonio Spurs at that time, Eric Snow, Larry Hughes, great guys, great players, but you're not beating, that was prime Tim Duncan. You know what I'm saying? You're not beating that. And so, for him to go to Miami, I think that was a great decision for him. That was probably the best decision. Because he needed a team around him, just like all these other guys need a team around him. Like Michael Jordan, people always say, and I hate this argument about people say that LeBron was saved by Ray Allen and he was saved by Kyrie. But then again, you think about Michael Jordan, like Michael Jordan wouldn't have had some of his rings had it not been for the shot by Steve Kerr. He wouldn't have had one of his rings had it not been for a block by Horace Grant. You know what I'm saying? So against Phoenix. So it's like he's a great basketball player, and I think he's definitely one of the greatest of all time. But I think a very biased opinion for me is LeBron. Like, it's very biased for me. I've been a LeBron fan since he came into the league. So and I've never swayed since.
Hey, and I 100% agree with you, man. I just think it's crazy how he's so consistent.
Yeah.
That should just be the argument in itself. Like, this guy has been to multiple finals, whether he's lost them or won them, like, just to be at the top, and he's like aging.
Even at 30 plus. Exactly. And he's only getting better.
That's true.
Absolutely. And he's a pass first player.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that a lot of people say that, he's not a clutch guy. First of all, LeBron is a person that wants to make the right play and not the play for himself. Like Michael Jordan, Kobe, those guys, great players, because in their right, they're willing to take that last shot. LeBron is okay with letting somebody else take that last shot if it means that they win the game. Right. And if he can, and people always say that Ray Allen shot, but you understand what happened before that. LeBron scored the last how many points to get them to that point for Ray Allen to hit that shot to mean something. Right. And so I just, I can debate about this with people all day, man. But,
Hey, you don't have to, man. You don't have to. We also think LeBron's a GOAT.
You heard it here. LeBron's a GOAT.
All right, my guy. We'll get you out of here, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, man.
Catch you guys later.
Man. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Later.
Later.
All right.